What's up, you guys? Welcome to the stop motion review on Legacy United Commander Class MAGMATRON. I've been waiting for this figure for so long. I had the original, and I'm just so glad Hasbro has redone this guy in the modern era, and it blows the original right out of the water. I have my few gripes with it, but other than that, he is pretty freaking amazing, especially for a Commander class, which is basically old school, modern day leader class figures. All the sculpted details all over him just look beautiful. The design of it is so nice and refined. Even though I do have a couple, gripes with how it was engineered, it just looks so beautiful and super accurate to the Beast Wars Neo anime. I've always loved Magmatron's design and him in the IDW comics, and this is just fantastic representation of the character. The paint and the sculpted details on the head is just absolutely so fantastic. The expression I love, even though it would be nice to get a more neutral face, maybe like an interchangeable faceplate, but it is what it is, still a fantastic head sculpt. But my one gripe with the head is that the head itself is still attached to the wings and the body of the pterodactyl. I know it's pretty much accurate to his design, but I wish, since we're modernizing things in generations here, it would have been nice if they sculpted Magmatron's head on a separate joint so he could have a ball joint so he could look up and down, because all he has is a swivel joint connected to the pterodactyl wings, which really sucks in my opinion. But still way better articulation than the original because the wings can move out of the way. So it's still good, just no up and down movement due to the design, which kind of sucks. So for accessories, he's got this sword hilt / gun thing, which I'll explain. It's got great sculpted details on it. I love the transformation for it too, even though it's a little bit fiddly. So for gun mode, what you do is you flip the hilt down like that, and you just plug it in his hand, and it looks pretty good. It's a little stumpy, but it's how it's supposed to look from the IDW comics in the cartoon. You can plug some blast effects in there, and he looks pretty good holding it, so it's a decent little thing there, little feature. He also has a bunch of blast effects, which are recolored from the Omega Supreme blast effects from Siege. You could pull them all apart like so still, which is great. You also come with the sword hilt itself / missile, if you guys remember from the original cartoon in the toy. It's done in clear plastic, rubber plastic, which kind of sucks, but it's got some nice gunmetal paint and sculpted details on it, which kind of makes up for it. So it just plugs into the hilt there, and you put it in his hands, and it looks like a very nice, long, menacing sword. I really love the way it looks. I prefer this over the gun look. And you could still plug the blast effects in there to make it look like he's shooting the missile or the sword itself out, like how he did in the show and in the original toy, which is really, really good. And he's got the famous shield, which is very nice and big. Great sculpted details all around. Even in the inside, it's great with the grade in there. So for him to hold it, you flip this peg out, and then you have a 5mm port on his arm on the underside, which kind of sucks, but it's not terrible. You just plug it in, and it looks fantastic. You really complete the weaponized look for Magmatron there, and it just looks so menacing, and I just love the way this looks. And lastly, for accessories here, you got these 2 red swords stored on the wings of the Skysaurus. Sorry I called it pterodactyl earlier, I got confused, so sorry about that. But you remove them there, they're just on a couple pegs, and you put them in his hands, and it looks pretty good. They're a little small, but they were originally supposed to just be like missiles, similar to the gray sword thing, like the original toy and on the show, but they modernized it, and they just made it swords. They cannot tab into the hilt of the sword itself, which really sucks in my opinion. Take a look at some features. He's got some Predacon crystals, one here for the Seasaurus, which looks fantastic. Love the Predacon logo details. You got the same one here for the Skysaurus, again looking great. Love the purple. And then the last one here for the Landsaurus, which is on the sword hilt gun thing. And if you couldn't tell by now, all 3 of these with the Predacon logo inside, it's actually outlined in silver paint. It's hard to pick up on camera, but it's a lot more noticeable in person, and it looks fantastic. Really utilizing that Commander class budget to get those extra details that you probably wouldn't get with him with a leader class. So I really love that attention to detail, and it looks amazing. So getting into my gripes and issues with this guy. So first up here, the skirt armor on the sides, they are a bit annoying with the dinosaur arms hanging out on the inside. They jut out more than they're supposed to because of the dinosaur arms in there. On the original toy and on the original character design, they're supposed to fold inside of the abdomen, and they just left it on the hip skirt armor, which is kind of lazy in my opinion, and it just makes the overall look a bit more clunky than it should be, especially when you're trying to pose him with the sword and the shield on there. You can't put his arms down all the way because the hip skirt armor gets in the way, which is why I don't have them pegged in on the side. I rotate them out so the hip skirt armor can fold down more. I think that looks better. You could also maybe unscrew them because it looks like the ball joint is on a screw, so I'm going to try that after this review, but still really sucks. The plastic on this guy is really durable. I think it's a bit more durable than Armada Optimus, but there's still a couple stress mark issues, especially on the port here for the shield. There's a few stress marks going around the circle of the peg itself, so I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if it's like an expansion thing and it's not going to get any worse for the plastic or what, but just be careful of stress marks on this guy, I will advise. This is more of a nitpick, but I do wish the 5mm ports there on the hands could flip in like the Siege Jetfire figure, but not too big of a deal. But what is a bit of a bigger issue is the sword hilt itself. I said it's made of soft plastic, and it is very gummy. Like, it is very bendy. It came out a little warped out of package, but not bad. But I do notice that gravity does warp it, I think. Because when I have them posed up one way, it kind of starts tilting, but the other way, when I rotate the wrist articulation when I have them posed, it goes back to the normal bend. So I don't know if it's just a warp thing out of box or what, but just be careful of that. I don't know how this is going to hold up over time. It doesn't feel bad, but it is clear plastic, soft plastic, so I just be careful of that. I don't know why they decided to do it this way. And the wings are also soft plastic, which is a little annoying. They did come a little warped, but you plug the swords in there, it does kind of straighten them out and help with that. So it's not terrible, but I just wish it was just regular plastic for the wings. I do appreciate that soft plastic for the sword, because clear plastic, it probably would have broke a lot easier, so I do appreciate that. Another more of a nitpick, but I just wish the tail folded down more like on the original toy. It just sort of juts out, and I know it's going to take up a lot of shelf space. You can rotate it out to the side a little bit to save some extra room, but it still juts out a bit more than I think it should.
Articulation time!
So for some comparisons, I'm going to be going all out, pulling out all the stunts and comparisons here. So first things first, let's bring in Cybertronian Longrack, Optimus Primal, Grimlock, and Ravage for some IDW Beast Wars action. I absolutely love that comic run in 2006, so I'm going to be doing a lot of comparisons with those. Next up, we have Big Convoy and Leo Convoy, of course, arch enemies from Beast Wars Neo, and of course the comics. And then jumping into some teammates from the comic books, we have Drillbit, Iguanus, Manterror, and then a couple of randoms, Nemesis Leo and Shadow Panther, all looking pretty good scale-wise. I think that looks great. Same thing with the other ones before. And then we have Longrack and Nemesis Prime. I know it's a bit random, but I just want to flex. I have that mold because I absolutely love that repaint. And Beast Wars 2 Skywarp off to the left there, all looking pretty great scale-wise in my opinion. And then throwing in some David K. Megatrons there because, you know, it's Beast Wars, why not? And then Tasmanian Kid, all looking pretty great. And then we have Dinobot, Gigatron, Armada Megs, and Scourge for some villains and just, you know, 90s and early 2000s goodness. Because if you don't know me by now, that's my favorite era of Transformers. And seeing all these characters together is just fantastic. Next up here, we have some 2000s Optimus Primes to go along with Magmatron, RID 2001, and of course Armada looking great. And then we have regular Armada Optimus and David K. Cybertron Megs. Gotta love it. All looking great. I love the way these two look together. So big and imposing.
Transformation time!
And the end result is pretty good. I have my gripes with the beast modes, but they are fantastic. I love the sculpted details. The paint on them where it is very nice. I do think it's pretty much almost perfect updates here for the beast modes. The dinosaur mode, that's all the jaw can open up there, which really sucks for the Landsaurus. Head sculpt is great though, and the sculpt details and the paint on there is great. It's just that the jaw can't move up. There he is next to Leo Convoy, looking great, and then there he is with the Skysaurus, and then of course the Seasaurus. All these modes are very, very big. They're much larger than the original toy, which I love. So for his articulation, the Landsaurus, there's really not a whole lot different. I'm not going to go through the legs because it's the same, but for the head, you've got a swivel joint there which moves that much, which isn't too bad. I wish it was a little bit more, but still pretty decent. And the neck can move up, but to a certain degree, it exposes a big gap, which looks pretty ugly. So I don't know how much you want to use that, but no, it is what it is. And then the little dinosaur arms are on ball joints, so you get a little bit of play out of that, which isn't too bad. And then for the Skysaurus, I love that head sculpt. The teeth, the sculpt, and just the eyes are just so menacing and looking. I love it. So for articulation, you got a ball joint there. The jaw can open down, down again. You got some rotation and hinges all over the wings, looking very nice. And then you got some ball joints there. Multiple hinges on the legs. So he's pretty well articulated, not too shabby. And then for the Seasaurus, love that head sculpt, all the paint on the teeth and on the tongue and the eyes, absolutely gorgeous. You've got a couple hinges there for the jaw and for the neck itself. A little hollow there, which I don't really like, but is what is. And then you have a series of ball joints all over his long neck, which is fantastic. Well, it's not ball joints, it's hinges and mushroom pegs. Sorry, excuse me. So, but it still gets pretty much the same amount of movement as the ball joint from the original figure, which is fantastic. I love how they did that. And then for the wings or the fins itself, you got some hinges here, you got ball joints, so it's decently articulated, you know, for what they could do with such a weird dinosaur and animal design such as this for a toy. They did what they could, you know, it's pretty good. Combination time! And the end result is cool, I guess. I mean, I grew up in the 2000s. I'm a Bayverse kid, so I'm used to these weird designs and combinations. So I do think this looks pretty cool, actually, even though, you know, you could make a ton of weird jokes on this. I figured he was missing some weapons, so I got a little creative and I flipped out his robot mode cannon. I know, it looks like a wee gun. It reminds me of the dude from ROTF, one of the kitchen bots. That's kind of what I was going for, a bit of a Bayverse weaponized look, which isn't too shabby. I actually like the way that looks with some blast effects plugged in, just to give him some extra weapons in this mode because I thought it was lacking. But other than that, there's really not much else to this combined mode. It's just there. It's the same exact articulation. The transformation is weird and it just looks funny, but I still like it. So my final thoughts on Magmatron here. I think he's one of the best commanders ever made, probably one of the best Generations figures ever made, pretty much like with all these commanders. But, you know, there's a few issues with him. The soft plastic, some of the build quality on the stress mark sometimes is a bit But other than that, he's fantastic. I definitely recommend getting him. A great update. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Let me know what y'all think about this Magmatron figure down below. All my social medias are linked down below. My email is also down below if y'all want to hit me up about business inquiries, or if you want to message me about whatever, or if you want to subscribe to my new Patreon link down below. It's got tons of exclusive content that you won't see here on YouTube or anywhere else, such as exclusive stop motions, transformers photography. You guys get 1 week access before everybody else here on YouTube to my stop motion films. You guys get sneak peeks at projects I'm working on, such as dioramas, stop motions, photography, videos. You guys get Discord access, exclusive exclusive music from my stop motion films. So if you guys want to help support me and help support the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!